you can sit there. All right. So I told you guys that you are going to be getting recorded today doing the Socratic Seminar, and Miss Slater came in and said that she enjoyed watching you do the seminar. All right. So I lined up for your warm-up to be the first 10 minutes of class, you to go through and check over your answers, because that's going to give me enough time to go through and make sure that you guys answer them thoroughly. Why do I do that? Why do I make sure you answer them thoroughly on the paper? Good. So when you sit down for the discussion, you can discuss it thoroughly as well. All right. So I'm going to come through with the highlighter. If I highlight anything, it just means explain it in a little bit more detail. By the time I get around the room, we should be able to go into circles. If you did not do the homework last night, you already know what's going to happen with the circle. What are you going to be doing while we're doing the discussion circle? Right. You have to go into another classroom and do them, and you can't participate in the circle. And the highest you can get is what? A 65, all right? And we explained this. I explained this in detail. A couple of you said that you lost the questions. All right, whenever you're ready.
I'll start number one. Describe several changes that Jonas goes through that makes him a dynamic character. A character that goes through great changes from beginning to end. Which event do you think most effectively changed Jonas? Be sure to cite specific examples and the actual changes that he experiences.
Well, I'll pick up from that. But, in my perspective, Jonas, he went through a lot, but the most ones you've seen was maturity, and his mind was starting to pick up on more things that was happening around him than he used to see.
I agree, because when he first was starting out in the book, he was just obedient and quiet, but then he started to grow more and to start thinking of his own, and that he didn't have to be questioned or forced to think of something by the giver or by anyone else. He just, when he made the choice to run away with Gabe early, he had to figure out how to leave early just like that on the spot. And then he had to survive alone. He didn't have the giver to come with him and tell him, this is a bird, this is a tree, you can starve here. So I think that's how he matured.
And I like where you said how he said he just left. Like, the giver told him to wait, but when he went home and he found out Gabriel, I'm not saying his name, Gabriel, was getting released, he took it upon himself, and he took on a bad chance of getting caught and getting himself released himself, but he saved both of their lives from getting killed.
With what you both said, I thought Jonas kind of felt responsible for Gabe getting released, because he had been sleeping in his room and he was giving him like the breezy days and stuff to help him go to sleep. And then that night, whenever he had found out about the twin getting released, he stayed with the giver that night, and he wasn't there to help Gabriel through the night. So when he came home that morning and he found out Gabe was going to get released, I thought he felt responsible, and that's why he decided to leave early.
I agree with you with the maturity thing, because and you said he started thinking and picking up on stuff, and started learning more stuff. It's like at first when he found out the rules and stuff, he didn't want to be like he said. You don't have to follow the rudeness rules and stuff. First he didn't want to use all that. He kept apologizing to the giver, but then near the end and stuff, when he found out Gabriel was gonna be released and stuff, he was like asking questions. Like he didn't care. He wasn't so like I have to follow the rules. He was like, why is he being released? He was asking a whole bunch of questions. Even with dad, the dad just kept answering. He kept asking more and more. He was asking a whole bunch of more questions, more than he used to. Something like that.
What change does the giver experience that makes him a dynamic character? What action does he take as a result of change? Well, for me, to me, it made him like a kind of a depressed character after Rosemary died, and like the memories about the war made him like lunatic and stuff.
Well, I agree with that. And he said, in the result, he said, change it. The giver went through a lot. Because, as he said in the book, the giver would, when he come in, it'll be some days the giver would not give him memories because of the pain. And when he did take pain from him, it would hurt both of them. So I think they went through a lot. In the result.
When I heard the first group in the circle, and they was talking about 6 and then went to 2, I didn't write it down, but I started thinking about how, like, the giver before that, another, like, a change he went through was becoming the receiver of memory himself. Is like, you have to be by yourself, and when he was by himself and he had to hide all stuff, because remember he said, did your family know about the book? He said he had to hide it too or something like that. And then he lost his daughter too, so then he was just all there by himself. And then when Jonas left, I think that really hurt him. Like, they didn't say how he reacted, but I'm pretty sure it hurt him a lot, because he had already lost his daughter, and then when he finally got another receiver of memory, he got to bond with Jonas and stuff like that. He said he loved him very much. That's like, I would think that he thought of Jonas as like his son, somewhat.
It might be a heartbreaker.
I thought after Rosemary's death, he became much more careful character. He was careful with Jonas, and I think he treated Jonas like his son. He didn't want to hurt Jonas in the way he hurt Rosemary.
I want to skip to question number 6. Do you agree that painful memories are easier when they are shared? Do you think that it's fair that one person in the community, the receiver, should have been burdened and pained by memories so that no one else is? And do you agree with Jonas that people have to be protected from their own choices? For the first question in there, I think, yeah, you should share painful memories, because if you're going through a tough time and you talk about it, it kind of takes a little bit of the burden off. You kind of feel a little bit better that someone else knows your problems and someone else can give you either advice or you guys can relate with that. And it makes a lot of people feel better when it's not just them alone. Like, when people think, I'm feeling this way and I feel so different and stuff, and they find out that other people are doing it, they don't feel so bad about themselves. They're like, hey, I'm normal because I'm with these people.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle with that, because like, some people like to tell the bad, but then some don't, because like, it's better if they hold it in themselves. Because like, some people, when they give it to other people, it reflects on both of them. Because when he takes the negative and one can take the positive. The one that tells it takes the positive from what the negative was giving him, and he made it into positive. So he's now a little happier, and the other one is now thinking about it.
For the second question, I don't think it should be burdened on one person. And it kind of ties in with the first question in the number 6. Is like, do you agree painful memories are easier when they're shared? And I think that the receiver, he has to keep them all in. And I couldn't imagine having to deal with like all those, like, he said he has memories from like generations. Like, that's a whole bunch of deaths, and then pain that you have to deal with, and you have to deal with it like you were there, like it was happening to you. Because when Jonas got the memories, like, he was in the situation. When he was in the war, he was like a part of the war. He became a soldier. It's not like he's just looking at it. He's a part of it. It's crazy. I couldn't deal with all that.
Zero?
Like, in the first question, I want to say, do you agree that painful memories are meant to be easier when they're shared? I disagree with you, Taylor, because like, pain is pain. Like, you really can't make it easy just by sharing, and like, it's still gonna be with you, but it's not gonna like go away or anything.
Well, with what you said, there are like 2 different kinds of people. There are people who think it's easier to share, and there are people who like to keep it all inside, and there are people who do like to share. In like today's society, you go to therapy and you just talk to other people about it, but even if you could talk to other people, nobody would understand. Or they give you some kind of medication, or like a service animal, and animals don't exist, and you're not allowed to take medication. other than your daily pill or the receiver. So anything that would help him through the pain, you can't do anything about it.
Well, question 3, and it says, what do you think about the author includes of the following sentences in chapter 12? And I'm in the book, page 884. It says, always in a dream, it seemed as if there were a destination or a something he could not grasp. When he said that, I thought like there is some, like, he doesn't know where he has to stop and go. He can stop at any moment because he's trying to get so far away from the town that he can give his memory release and go into the people. But he doesn't know how far he has to go. And that part, like, I don't know, if you reflect on yourself, like, you don't know how hard you have to go to get stuff that you want. And I think he really wanted to get the people his memories so they can be free and see colors, see stuff that he wanted to see.
I think it's foreshadowing because in the end he does go down a hill and he does get to somewhere, but obviously in the book we don't know what. We know that he knows that there's a family there waiting for him. He hears music, or he thinks he does, and he sees this little cabin. But in the dream, he's never experienced anything like that except for the memories that he gets later on. So I think in the dream, the author's foreshadowing what will happen, because, she's also signaling that he's about to go on a journey. Because if you have a dream about someone dying, you're supposed to have expecting change. And I think this is what is going on with him when he dreams that he's going down a sled. He's about to start a journey. He's about to go from one place to another very quickly. And he does.
I agree that it's foreshadowing. I also thought it was to build up suspense on what and how he was going to get to that destination he kept dreaming about. She would want to know, like, what is he talking about? It's like, he said he could not grasp what it was, and he said it was distant. He said it was in the distant, but it was distant. You know, yeah.
I agree that it was foreshadowing. I do think that Jonas died, so that's what I'm thinking of. He was trying to grasp onto life at the end of the story, which I think this was sort of foreshadowing it. But then again, it could represent many different ways.
No.
I'm gonna read number 4. In chapter 13.
In chapter 13, the giver says that without memories, knowledge is meaningless. What does he mean? Like, he probably means that without our memories, like, life will be sort of like worthless, because like, memories are like a flow of passion to help us remember us the good times and the painful times, like something like that.
I think it's very important because if you can't remember the value of having something, then what's the point of knowing it? To me, memories are some of the most valuable things we have, and knowledge can't help us with life because memories kind of define who you are. Because you know something, you remember something in the past, you decide that you will or will not make that choice again in the future.
I think memories is like, it's like wisdom, kind of, because it's your experiences. Like without memories, you can't really, like, you can have a whole bunch of knowledge, but without the experience or the memories, how are you gonna remember what to do or not to do? Like, that's why they go to the giver. That's the whole purpose of the receiver, remember. And like, I thought, like, movies and books that have like that one, a mother who's having their first kid, get like a book on something or parenting, I'm talking about, like, in movies. But she doesn't, like, the book doesn't really do nothing because she doesn't have the experience with the child, the memories of what to do, something
think you could have knowledge, but without memories, it is meaningless, because without those memories, you can't really tell what's right from wrong, because the memories is you and what you remember, and if you don't have anything to remember, it's going to be hard to know what was right for you and what was wrong for you.
I think he wants to read a question.
Want to read?
I'll read it. What do you think the theme of the story is? Why do you think that? If you could select one sentence from the story that best describes the giver, what would you pick and why? For the theme, I think it is like, if you think something is wrong, try to fix it. Like Jonas, he like saw so many memories. He began to think about it, and like think about, what if the whole community had the memories? There would be pain and there would be consequences and stuff like that, but it wouldn't be same. Everybody would be different, have their own styles and stuff like that.
I kind of agree, but also disagree, because I chose that rules are made to be broken, and it does agree with you in some ways, but it does kind of disagree, because with the whole story, they were trying to make a utopia with the base of rules, and in the movie it said that the community was run by rules, and there's always going to be that one person that goes against the grain. There's always going to be one person who doesn't agree with it and tries to change it because they don't see it as not right. And Jonas tends to do that quite a lot. Like, you're not supposed to touch each other in public, and he does because he's trying to transmit memories. You're not supposed to tell about the memories, yet he shares his memories with Gabriel, even though he's a toddler. And he wanted to go to elsewhere, but that's a formal release. So he wanted to break the rules, and that's what made me think that rules are made to be broken. Because if somebody told you couldn't, then it'd make you want to go against them and say that you can. And it kind of seems like that to me.
For me,
Go ahead.
for me, like, the theme of the story is like to tell us that memories are like our source of wisdom, but also pain. And memories also help us learn from our past and fix our mistakes.
I agree with what you said. Taylor, you said that rules are made to be broken, and if you notice in today's world, some people, they'll break rules, but then when they come back to that, they'll think twice what happened the last time you broke the rules.
I agree with Taylor, because I think the message of the story was fight for what you believe in. Jonas fought for what he thought was right, and he did have to break rules while trying to do what he believed. I have an example, and it's like in the 70s, it was very nature, like they wanted to save all nature or something. They did all these protests for what they believed in by planting trees or going against what other people thought were wrong, but they did what they thought was right.
Anyway, read number 7.
I'll have it. How does Gabriel's character help resolve the story's main conflict? At first, I wanted to write Gabriel really didn't. He kind of put him in that execution chair, because if Gabriel never came into his life, he would have never left early, and he probably would survive longer, because taking away some of that food to give to Gabriel when he went to elsewhere, it kind of helped him survive. But then I thought, wait a minute, Jonas is fighting in society, and he didn't really have a real motivation. He just wanted to release memories, and Gabriel, about to be released, kind of got the ball going. It kind of gave him a motivation of, I need to get this done, I need to get it done now.
No, wait.
You got it.
Oh, well, I agree with that because before Gabriel went to his house, he was thinking of him and the girl how we talked about giving the memories out. And then once he heard that Gabriel was getting released, his mind basically went both ways. Like, I need to save them, and then he didn't have a choice. He made a choice, and that was both of them.
I kind of disagree with y'all. 'Cause you said when he was going out by himself like that, if Gabriel wasn't there, he didn't have no food. Like, that's true, but like without Gabriel, he wouldn't have left right then and there. So he'd have had time to get extra food. Like, he wasn't even supposed to go then. That's why he didn't have enough food, because he was supposed to get the giver was supposed to save his food for him. And then what did you say? You said, what you mean? I'm trying to think what I said. Oh yeah, and he was already planning on going. Him and the giver had already made the plan, so he was already thinking right here, right now. What made him say right here, right now was when he found out what his dad was doing. That's when he was like, right now, I gotta go. So him and the giver was gonna wait. It wasn't really Gabriel, it was just that he wanted to save Gabriel. That's why he left early, and that's why he didn't have enough food.
And in that part, I actually see what you're saying, because before they had made a plan up, and the giver was like, stay 2 weeks so you can get more training, and about he's gonna get a driver and they're gonna meet up and there's gonna be food in the trunk. And then he just seen a video that made him just leave early.
If you think of just the book and not the movie, it's kind of like whenever there's a mother and her small child and then there's like a robber or something in their house. If she was home alone, she'd be freaking out, but because she has her kid with her, she'd be calm and trying to keep the kid calm. And with Jonas taking Gabriel kind of helped him calm down, and it made him remember that he needed to go to save Gabe. I think if Gabriel wasn't with him, he might have given up.
I think he would have given up. Only reason he was giving up because he was tired and all that, and hungry. He was like, I wish I was home to get the food that they set out. He said I shouldn't have left. Because he was like, he had memories of regret. I mean, he was thinking of regret. He was like, I shouldn't have went. I wish I had the food that they bring to me and stuff like that. And he'd have had food if he wouldn't want to give her the plan.
I agree with Robin because I think he sort of gave him that I need to save him feeling, because if he was by himself, what I think is he would have given up, because all he had was himself. He didn't have anyone to take care of him, yet he's selfless. So when he had that child with him, he wanted to get Gabriel to safety. He wanted Gabriel to be safe.
You guys have about 2 more minutes. So can I ask you to do either 8 or 10?
Can we do 8?
Okay. What? Read it.
Okay.
You want me to read it?
Let's do 8.
What value, if any, is there to Sameness? Imagine a world like Jonas's community. What would you miss most about the world we live in now?
Well, the values of sameness, I think there's only one value, and that's there's no conflict in the world. But I would miss like loving and like colors and stuff like that, making decisions and choices. Like, I need to make my own decisions sometimes. Like, I don't want nobody else to pit like my spouse or something like that, like what they did. And then they couldn't even have kids. They had to like adopt the kid technically.
I see what you're saying. Like, I would miss dressing up how I like to dress up, getting up, doing what I like to do. Because in the world, you gotta do with time. You gotta eat, get up at a time, sleep at a time, eat at a time. It's just hard. I like it this way better.
I kind of like it because I've been sick all week with allergies and stuff, and they don't really have that problem because of climate control. And I would rather sacrifice a few things like colors and choice and differences for things that could really help me, like just living longer, having a population be obedient and grow to be good people. Because in their community, nobody was on down the streets. Nobody was just hurting other people. Nobody was breaking into other people's houses. It wasn't like that. It was peaceful and calm. And even though their happiness was artificial, their emotions were gone, it kind of made me think, what if we were like that? What if we didn't have sickness and pain and robbery and all this gossip that's going on? And yes, I would miss things, and the thing I would miss the most is music, because it has life and love and emotions all in one. But I think I could do without it, just to have a lot of good things instead of a little.
I disagree about the differences because my middle sister Lacey, she was born with a tongue tie, so for like the first 2 years of her life she had a speech impediment. So like she grew out of it, but if she was in that community, they would have just released her because she was different. They wouldn't have given her a second chance.
Do you have any ideas?
Like value to like sameness, there wouldn't be no more fear, no war, especially no more pain. And included that what I miss about what we live now is that family and friend, because to me without it, life will be worthless.
I agree with you said, Taylor. Like, I wouldn't want to give up color and stuff, but the other stuff you said, I would agree with that. They, I like how everybody gets a job and everybody strives for perfection. But what you said how everybody is perfect. Well, what's the point in striving to do good if you don't even get to choose what you want to do? That's the main purpose of what we do. Like, you do good in school so you can do your dream, get your dream job and live in your dream house. But like, all they do is they do good in school just so they can get picked, so someone can pick what they do. And it's nothing different. It's like a set amount of jobs. There's a whole bunch of jobs you can do now, and I can invent things and stuff like that.
But and I disagree with that. In their point, they do it to get a good job. And what we do when we in school, we try hard to go to college and get it's more upper higher skills. They do it just to get jobs that suits them.
The whole point of going to college is so you can get a job sometimes.
I think they actually do get a bit of a choice, because as you're growing up, you get to choose what you want to volunteer and spend your volunteers hours at. And with Fiona, she chose to do it at the House of Old. She could have done it at the food packaging place. She could have done it at the nurturing center. But she chose to be a caretaker. She chose to take care of the old, which made her a caretaker of the old. Asher, he's a playful one, so obviously he'd be the assistant director of recreation. And the only reason Jonas got to be receiver of memory is because he was born that way. But in some ways, they do kind of have a choice.
It would seem disappointing to be a woman in their society. The girl who got picked as birth mother, I don't remember her name. What if she wanted to work with the genetic people, and then she turned out she had to be a birth mother and a laborer? So it seems like even if she put all her volunteer hours into learning about that, she got really good grades in school, and that's what she wanted to do. She ended up being a birth mother. That would seem like really disappointing if I was her.
Okay, I'm gonna stop y'all to the hot seat. Anybody in the outer circle want to go into the hot seat? Or it can be voluntary. Y'all supposed to be taking notes, right? Ethan, you on? Alright, Robert? Go ahead.
Hey guys.
Right. Oh, you know how, well, Taylor, you know how you said that you should share, it should be easy to share a painful memory to someone else because it'll like take all that pain, like a little bit of pain off of you. But what if it was like a very painful memory and you ain't want to tell another person?
I guess that kind of requires strength because everybody has had something very bad that they never want to talk about with them, but some memories are meant to be kept inside yourself, but some are meant to be shared. Like if it was that bad, then you probably wouldn't be able to deal with it. But if you could deal with it and keep that memory inside you, then why couldn't somebody else?
And Rachel, you know how you said in the book you thought that he died, that Jonas died? What evidence made you think he died?
Well, when you die, there's like something that you see your life flash before you. He saw memories that he was given, and that's what he was seeing. So that sort of like a little hint that I thought was like, oh, well, he's dying. Also because how was a sled magically waiting for him at the top of the hill? That's being like, if you're very, what's that word?
All right, another hot seat. Thank you all.
Religious.
Wait, taking your notes? Anything someone said? Oh, no, hold on. Hold on. Taking notes?
Realistic.
All right, so, Taylor, you made a point about them having artificial happiness and it being a good thing. I hate artificial sugar. That Sweet Glow and Splenda and all that other stuff. It might be good for you, but it's disgusting. And if I had a choice, I would absolutely choose the good sugar, even though it's not necessarily good for you. Do you think that necessarily in making choices that people will always choose wrong? Or should we be allotted the opportunity to make those choices, whether we choose right or wrong? I wasn't clear on how you came up on that answer.
I'd rather have somebody choose for them so nobody else is hurt or affected and not have the risk of somebody being hurt or affected negatively in that way than having somebody make a choice and having them just make the right choice, I would guess.
And I feel like you're projecting by saying them because you're not saying us. So would you want someone to make choices for you? And whether it starts now, like say if this started tomorrow, they started telling us we had to take this pill every day, and they started making all our choices for us. Would you want it to be like that?
Yes.
You would. Okay. That's where I wasn't clear. All right. I like how Rachel made the point on with taking Gabriel with him, that it was kind of his last display of selflessness, him staying alive for Gabriel, and we know that that's him and his character, and I think that we have to remember, always think about the author too as well. And Lois Lowry included that because she needed to show one more time how selfless Jonas was. And if he hadn't taken Gabriel with him, she wouldn't have had that opportunity to do that. He would have just been on the journey alone, and she would have had that opportunity. And I like how you guys said that if he didn't take Gabriel with him, then he would have just gone on with the plan 2 weeks later. We have to remember that there are always complications in a story. And so are we 100% sure that those 2 weeks would have went exactly as planned and no one would have caught on to his plan and he would have gotten away free and clear with all of his... Do you think that as authors are going to write a story that is going to work out that perfectly? And because we know that there need to be complications, right? More and more conflict so that there can be some type of what? And resolution, okay? So we have to think, like, if that didn't happen, there could have been some other complication in it. Javion, you made a lot of good points. One of the ones I liked how you said that you used kind of like a metaphor, and you said a mother gets a book on parenting, and you said that, you know, the experience is actually what makes her wise and makes her able to be a good mother versus, you know, reading a book. And I can definitely vouch for that. I read every page in that parenting book. And once that baby was born, I was like, what do you do? And the same thing with teaching. Like, we get all these books to tell us how to do it, but that day you step into the classroom, you have to start working it out on your own. And now you have these people that you're responsible for, and they're all different. And so you can read all the books in the world, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have the actual memories and the experience, then they're kind of they kind of cancel each other out. Robin, you made some great points too when you said that therapy is a way for us to talk about how we feel and share our feelings, but usually it's with someone that hasn't experienced that, so maybe they don't know what we're going through. And so in our world, they'll give you a pill or they'll give you some type of animal, but with Jonas, he couldn't do that. He wasn't allowed to receive pills for the pain that he was going through because of his experience. And I love that y'all really stuck to the novel. You didn't jump all over the place with the book. With the movie. So good job. All right. Any other last comments, concerns, questions? All right. Move my desk back, please.